What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Mekanism. And today, guys, we're going to be messing around with the digital miner, which is Mekanism's go-to mining machine. And on top of that, it's also extremely awesome because it's got tons of customizable options, including one which I think is fantastic. It is the option to specify a few ores or the exact ore that you want to have it mine, and that's the only thing it's going to get you, which is extremely useful in most cases when you only need 1 or 2 ores and you don't feel like setting up an entire, buildcraft quarry that's just going to get everything that it comes across. So I will cover a lot of the other different options you have once we start working on it and putting it down and actually customizing our own settings, but there is one thing I want to talk about before we even start crafting stuff, and that is that the audio for this video and from here on out should be a ton better than normal. Now, a lot of you guys probably heard about this in my Thaumcraft series, but I know all of you don't watch that, so I wanted to just point this out to everyone else, and I wanted to say thank you to all of you because you guys are the people that made it possible for the audio upgrade to happen. I've always said that any money I make from the channel, I will do my best to put back into it, and so that's what I did. All the money that I got from ads or Patreon went directly back into buying a new pop filter, a shock mount, and getting an arm for this, so the audio quality should be as high as it's gonna get. There shouldn't be really any white noise or anything other than my voice coming through, aside from pretty much the in-game sounds. So hopefully it makes the videos more enjoyable, and again, thank you guys for making that possible. So now we get to do some crafting, and there is a lot of stuff in this chest, and then there's a lot of stuff in my inventory too. Now, I did mention that there are some things that we do have to craft before we can even get into finishing the digital miner, which is going to be the osmium compressor. So we're going to be using this specifically. I should have all this stuff in here, and I guess we can grab all of this stuff out. We're going to be using every piece that's in here and then some of what's in my inventory right now, because the digital miner is actually relatively expensive. Now, yes, it is worth it, and I am making it relatively early on, but I think it should help us in the long run just because it does take a while to go mine stuff, and this will be great, especially for making upgrades, because I'm going to need a lot of osmium and a lot of gold for speed and energy upgrades, and that's what I'm going to do after we actually get this. But pretty much, I have everything that we need for the logistical sorters, the steel casing, I have this control circuit, and then the teleportation cores, pretty much just going to require the atomic alloy, and then the only other thing we need to get is from the robot, which is going to be, again, the atomic alloy and the refined obsidian ingots. Now, this is what requires the osmium compressor, and it's going to require some refined obsidian dust, which we're going to get in a metallurgic infuser using the compressed diamond we have in the regular obsidian dust. So we can come over here and we can make the osmium compressor. So if we go, let me go over here. This is the awesome part. So we go over here and we can actually click up here and go to the osmium compressor, and we need to make the steel casing first. We're gonna have to make a couple of these, but I don't want to craft all of them right now because I'm not actually sure just how many we need. So let's get back over to the osmium compressor, and there we go. So we can throw this down right up here. I guess that'll be fine. I did add a couple extra metallurgic infusers, or if you'd like to look at Whale, I still haven't changed that, the troll enrichment chambers, but the main reason behind that is because one of these is going to have the diamonds going into it, and the other one is going to have the obsidian going into it eventually. So we're going to put the compressed diamonds in there. We get 240 because each compressed is going to give us 80, and then what we're going to do is throw in, what do we want to throw in first? We're going to have to throw in some, we're going to throw in 2 to start. I want to make sure we don't use too much of this just because we need to use a lot of it today, but we're going to get those 2, and then those are going to go into the osmium compressor, and those are going to get turned into the refined obsidian ingots. So we got one of those, and this is going to be going up here too. So once we get the second one of these, we can throw those in. We can go back and start crafting the rest of the stuff. But along with that, we need 7 atomic alloy, which takes reinforced alloy, which is pretty much just going to be the enriched alloy with the diamonds. So those are going to go in there, and we need 7 of those. So we can start those in there right now too. Okay, so I actually wondered for a second what was going wrong here. I put these backwards. So there we go. This turned into liquid osmium. This should be good. I'm going to throw actually an extra one in there, but we have them processing down here into reinforced alloy, and then once these are done, we can take all of them out, and then we can throw in some of the obsidian dust, make it into refined obsidian dust, then throw that into the enrichment chamber over there, and then throw that back into its own metallurgic infuser and use that on the reinforced alloy. So we have the refined obsidian ingots here. We can go back over and start crafting some of this stuff, like the logistical sorters, which we're going to have 2 of. And after that, we can make 1 more steel casing, and we should be good then to go over and flip some of these. So we still got those going in there. Over here, this should not be running that much longer. Yeah, okay, so it's finishing up. It's got a backup of osmium clumps in here, but you can see it's been processing all the ore, and this is after taking stuff out for all the crafting today, and we still have a ton left in here, which is phenomenal, because that means it's going to be a lot easier, at least, to go along and do other episodes. So we can come back over here, we can grab out the reinforced alloy, we can throw in the obsidian dust. I might as well throw all of this in there now. We still have 150 diamond left, and we actually need to use these 2 diamonds for crafting, so I can't compress those. But then these are going to come up here, and once we get this refined obsidian dust, one of these should actually be enough. We're going to switch it out in the enrichment chamber, and we kind of cheated the system a little bit and swapped it out at the very end of the process, but we're going to throw that in up here. It's going to give us, again, 80, and that should process all of those, and then we actually should be good to finish the crafting. Now, there are a lot of upgrades that I want to make for these, specifically the muffler upgrades. Chances are, until I get those, I'm going to be going in and altering the secondary sound in Sony Vegas, just because I can alter only in-game sound there and make it a little bit quieter. But I did move the wind generators up just because those seem to be the largest culprits of the noise pollution going on in the video. But yeah, this stuff starts to get really loud when it's constantly running. So let's look up here. Yep, those should be finished relatively soon. I'll grab 3 of them out and we can get back to crafting over here. So the first thing we want to craft is going to be the robot, and we need the personal chest for this, which is relatively cheap. It just takes control circuit, some steel, 2 chests, and a piece of glass. So there we go, and then we can craft the robot, which is just going to take the energy tablets, which again are relatively cheap. They just take some redstone, some gold, some enriched alloy, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's actually all that it requires. And then we have the 1 atomic alloy and the 2 refined obsidian ingots. So there we have the robot. And then we need, do we already have the steel casing for this? Yeah, we do. We have the basic control circuit, the 2 other atomic alloys. So the last thing that we need are the teleportation cores, which is where the rest of the diamonds are going to be going and the rest of the atomic alloys are going to be going. So let's grab them out of here, and we should be good to go. So come down and make the 2 teleportation cores, and then we should have the digital miner. So there we go. Our inventory is very clean now, just because there was so much involved in actually crafting that. Now the rest of the glass and enriched alloy is actually intended to be used for some upgrades that eventually are probably going to go on to start at least the ore processing setup, but eventually they'll go on to the metallurgic infusers and the digital miner itself. Now the digital miner is going to get its side plugged into power, so we can pretty much put it anywhere. I'm probably going to put it right over here, just because it should be relatively easy to wire the power over. And I have no intention of fully automating this right now and connecting it back over here, because some sorting does need to be done first, depending on what ore you're actually going for. If you're just going for any ore, then you do need to sort it. If you're going for one specific type of ore, then you don't really need to. But we can throw it on the digital miner. It looks absolutely awesome. These screens will light up once we plug it in and start working with it. And we can plug in any side, so I actually should probably chop this tree down right here, just so that we have some space. And we can wire it over, and then we'll grab a chest and throw it down in the back. You can have this auto eject, which is very nice. So we can wire this over, and it is a little bit confusing because on the side the texture does have a portion that you would think needs to get connected right there to power, but that's not actually where it needs to get connected. Any side will work. So this now has power on it. It doesn't have any upgrades. It does have the option to have energy upgrades and speed upgrades, and I think that should be it. Yeah, so energy and speed. Hopefully this'll finish soon. Yeah, this is being really loud. Okay. But what we can do is come back over here. We need to craft one more chest, and that's going to go directly behind it, and that's where the output is going to go. Now, you could use a logistical sorter if you wanted to do that. You could just have a regular pipe there, or you could pretty much have any chest. So we're going to come back here, and the chest can go right there. That's where it's going to get output to. Now we get to come in here and actually work with the settings. So you do need to configure a lot of things. You can reset, if you want to just reset the settings. You can turn auto eject on. So if you look on this side where I'm hovering over these buttons is where you actually click them. This is all like where the power is, all of that stuff. But on the opposite side where all the green writing is, that's actually where you're going to see what it does. So right now, auto eject is off. Now it's on, so it's going to get directly auto ejected into that chest or anything that you have connected to the back of this. Silk touch is off. It actually can be turned on, and it's just a click of a button. It's really easy, and that's really nice. But along with that, it also consumes 6 times as much power. So it's not always the best option until you have an extremely large excess of power, or if you actually really are in desperate need of diamonds or redstone or something along the lines of that can actually benefit from silk touch. And we have auto pull off because we're not pulling anything into here. So After that, we go to the config, and there's a lot of other stuff that we can mess around in here. So the radii is going to be the radius around the digital miner. Obviously, the digital miner is the center of this, that it is going to be looking for ore. So this can max out at actually 32, and you can't go any higher. So if we put in 33, it would stay at 32, but we can leave it at 32, and that'll pretty much just go through all this area, and then it'll go from the minimum level to the maximum level, which in this case is 0 to 60, looking for all this different types of ore. Now you can specify the levels, you can specify the ore, you can specify both, you can do all of that. I will typically leave the levels from 0 to 60 and just specify the ore that I want, but now we actually get to make filters. So there's a lot of different options that you have when it comes to filters. You have item stacks, ore dictionary, material, and mod ID. Now I typically tend to use ore dictionary, but sometimes I will use item stacks just because ore dictionary is a little bit confusing to work with. So let's say I want to go for gold right now, which I do. We type in, you could just type in ore and leave it at that, or you should type in or gold, I should say, and that'll get us gold ore. You can type in, I want to say it's ore and then an asterisk, and that'll get everything that's ore after it. Yeah, so you can see what's coming up over here. So it's every different type of ore that you can find, but we're going to go for ore gold, specify that, and now it's just going to get us gold from 0 to 60 in a radius of 32. It's got one filter on it, and we can come back here, we can click start, and it's going to say how many we have to mine. So it's got 172 options to mine. It's going to slowly go through those. It's going to drain the power very slowly too. It'll tell you that it is running and is ready to go, and it should be ejecting them all straight back into this chest right here. So you can see we have gold ore right there. Now the reason being able to specify this is so great is because right now I am in need of gold ore. I need it because we need to make upgrades, and if we look at all the upgrades that we can make, obviously it's only going to work for one of them. But if we look at the two main upgrades we want, speed and energy, this one is going to be taking the enriched alloy, some glass, and osmium dust, and this one takes the enriched alloy, glass, and gold dust. So pretty much all we want is osmium and gold, and then we want to run that through the process over here, get as much dust as we can from it, and then just turn it into upgrades so that we can upgrade everything over here, and it makes it a lot easier to actually start crafting stuff and moving along in the mod. So I'm going to leave this set to gold for the time being just because I have more osmium than I do have gold. But what I think I'm going to do is hop off camera now, make a bunch of upgrades. We can throw them in some of the machines here, and we should be good to go. Okay guys, so we are back, and I am processing gold that we got to bring it down into gold dust so that we can start crafting some of the energy upgrades, and then I'll do that with osmium in a little bit. But before we actually jump into crafting that and throwing them into all the different machines, I want to talk about how we can connect the digital miner over to that chest so as to semi-automate the process of, mining and then processing it and getting out the ingots from the 3x ore processing setup. Now, it is a little bit more complicated if you just want to slap the word ore with an asterisk in here and mine everything that it can, because then you do have to do a little bit of sorting. But for now, when we're only getting osmium and gold, and actually we're only getting gold right now, but I'll switch that up in a little bit, it's perfectly fine to just throw it right into that chest over there. It'd be the same thing if we were doing copper, iron, tin, anything along those lines that wants to get processed in here. Also, you might notice that I have a new death point. I got hit by a zombie that was on fire as I killed it, and then I just ended up dying because there was no water close enough, but that's besides the point. This is my third death so far. It's been a rough time, but we're making do. So what we're going to do is throw down the basic logistical transporters, which are pretty much going to be the item transportation pipes that Mekanism offers. They're not super fast, but that's perfectly fine for us. Now you might notice that it does not connect to the back of the digital miner, but it is in the same spot the chest was. That is perfectly fine. The items will be ejected into this, and all we have to do is run it along this path that I just carved out, and we're going to bring it right over to this chest. So I'm going to hook it up like this and run it along here, just because I don't want it connecting directly to the hopper in case we fill that up. We want it to be able to go to a slightly larger internal buffer. So instead of just having this go straight over, we'll use one more pipe or tube, whatever you want to call it, transportation method for the items, and put it straight into this chest right here. So we can throw this thing on. It's off right now, but it should have the same settings, and I'm actually going to change this up a little bit, and we're going to add a new filter, which is going to be ore osmium. So that should be good to go, and we can leave it in this order. It's perfectly fine. and we can hit start, and now it's got 1,003 to mine, and you'll see it should be coming around here in a second. Yep, so there we go, osmium for the first one. And right now, the bottleneck is with the speed at which the digital miner goes. The transportation is going to be no issue, and it's not going to overflow the storage over here by any means, especially once we get the upgrades going. Now, I did turn off auto eject on the enrichment chamber just so that we could get all the gold dust, and now we can pull this out. We've got a ton of it. I'm going to leave this system running for a little bit, and we're going to do energy upgrades first, because I suspect with the digital miner running, that's going to be the first issue that we run into. If we look, actually, maybe not. Maybe if we don't have the metallurgic infusers running, it won't be an issue. But once we start getting speed upgrades on top of that, there is no doubt in my mind that the energy will be an issue. So we can come over here. I did process a couple more enriched alloys. It looks like we ran out of redstone, so I will have to compress some more. But then we can come over and just do some simple crafting. So we're going to need a lot of these. I don't even suspect that we're going to be able to craft enough right here. But we're going to make energy upgrades. They come in stacks of 8 because that's how many are actually going to go into a machine at once. And we can do the last 3. Actually, you know what? No, we'll leave it at those clean 8 right there because we got 4 machines that we can use them in right now over here. Now, I'm going to put them in the setup that we have right here for processing ores. Now, there are 2 methods that you could do to kind of speed up the process at which you can make the upgrades if you're trying to make them and you can't, make all of them all at once. So you could upgrade the metallurgic infusers, which would allow you to make the components such as the enriched alloy faster, or you could speed up the ore processing setup, which would allow you to get the dust faster. So either one is really perfectly fine. I'm going to do the ore processing setup over here just because even if I stop making upgrades for all these machines, I'll benefit more from this. So what we do is we go into the upgrades tab, then we take the upgrades that we want to put in, we throw them in up here, it's going to fill up this little arrow, and it's going to drop them in. So they don't all go in instantly. And we can see that this also supports energy, speed, and gas upgrade. And if we hold shift, this one increases the efficiency of gas using machinery. Now this wasn't actually an option the last time I played, but it is awesome. And we can see if we click on this, it has got 8 out of 8 energy upgrades in there. Like I said, that's why they come in stacks of 8, and it is 10 times for the effect. So that is phenomenal. This will be a lot more energy efficient, but once we add speed upgrades in, it'll be negligible. And the nice thing is we can go through all these. We don't even have to sit there, and we can just put in the energy upgrades. Now the question becomes, I think I'd rather put one in the electrolytic separator just because this one is going to be more frequently used than the energized smelter. I almost said enrichment chamber from Wayla, but yeah, once this gets in here, hopefully these will help with the energy, and this will be restoring its internal buffer. It looks like that might still be a problem, but yeah, we got all 8 in there. All of them should be done for all of these, and that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to give it a like if you found it entertaining or informative in any way. It always helps me out a lot. And also, please let me know in the comments how the audio sounds. Like I said, I know I brought this up in the TC5 series that, the episode came out yesterday. But like I said, I know all of you guys don't watch that. And I wanted to make sure I said thank you to each and every one of you that does watch the ads on the videos and helps get the revenue, that does, help the channel improve and all of that. So I will talk to you guys later.